we had to go and look at all kinds of existing helicopters and say which one would work. And so we became familiar with all the different models. I mean, all I knew about was the Bell helicopters that we see overhead here all the time.
By the time we were looking at available helicopters to, flying machines, which we could sort of adapt in some way, everything was sort of streamlined and rounded looking, it was sort of not warlike at all.
Our pilot, Jim Gavin, had said, I think the Alouette is the one that you want to use. And I looked at it and I went, I don't know, the lines are so sleek and I want something really masculine and not quite so feminine looking, and it's a wonderful looking helicopter. But after looking at everything, and after our production designer, Philip Harrison, started attacking the drawings and adding things on, we realized that was the best answer. Well, we took an approach that was somewhat like we thought the military might take, the Army, or the Army flies lots of helicopters, or the Air Force, and saying, what would we want in terms of a machine that would do a lot of these kind of things?
There's a fair amount of research and a fair amount of extrapolating that research into our needs. Don Woodruff and I had to go down to Carlsbad and measure the helicopter and draw scale drawings of it, top, underside, side view, so forth, and then show what was to be removed and other things to be added.
And of course it was impossible to have any current military technology. We couldn't get our hands on any of that stuff.
Okay, these are your television monitors. You have 3. The one in the center ties into all your computer banks. Switches. Night vision, infrared filter, target system, whisper mode so you can travel silent, audio, which controls your outside mics, which you hear.
Everything that we hung on the helicopter had to be approved by the FAA, and they would go down to Costa Mesa, where we were doing this work, and watch and see every single thing had to be approved. But it added a lot of weight, and helicopters don't like a lot of weight.
This thing is nose heavier than the Ayatollah.
I think they added a couple hundred pounds to the plane. The gross weight that it could lift was about 1,200 pounds.
So what we had was a big clumsy beast that didn't maneuver very well and was just kind of hard. So the poor Alouette helicopter was just struggling under all this extra weight we put on it.
And we did all sorts of things, like we stuck lights all over the helicopter, which you would never know, you'd never notice them. Because there were a lot of night shots of it flying over the city, and of course it's very difficult because normally it'd just be a silhouette with a couple of anti-collision lights, flashing here and there. But in fact he put some little tiny lights to just wash a little bit of light onto the structure of the plane itself. So it sort of started adding up pretty quick.
All right, here goes the whisper mode.
Whisper mode.
Can you listen outside a building from the vibrations you're picking up on the window? We kept thinking about this, and we say, well, the helicopters are very noisy. How quiet can you make them? Can you get them really quiet into a way that you can get close to a building and not have it blow you away? Because you can hear those things coming from the longest distance.
The faceting rather than the rounding. They have to use armoured glass or some very bulletproof glass, if that's the right expression. And it doesn't curve very well. Compound curves are not on, So it all has to be slabs of glass. So you make a faceted deal. And that gives it a sort of insect-like, scaly look.
It had to have certain slants so that it didn't bounce into camera. And, given the parameters, you sort of design inside those parameters.
So we started totting off a list of a Gatling gun, kind of machine gun that can be aimed simply by having in your helmet a heads-up display. So if you look this way, the gun would go this way. If you look this way, it would go this way, up, down. So you can aim it just with your head.
But, you know, the dummy plane, the second backup, that if they were using long shots and didn't have to show screens on the control panels and all that kind of stuff, the guns were broomstick handles, literally broomstick handles. But they had the other one that fired acetylene shots that were fired, and you could see it go.
One thing I do remember is that in meetings with various defense contractors, a couple of companies offered to provide us with 50 million live rounds of ammunition, as much as we wanted. And I said, wait a minute, you're going to give us live rounds of ammunition that we're going to be firing around? Yeah, oh yeah, it'll be fine. I said, no, you're not. We're not going out there with live, we can barely deal with special effects. We're not going to be shooting around extras and stuff like that. We knew enough to build 2 helicopters, so that if one shut down on us, at least we had a spare. And movie props, which is what this was, is a big movie prop. They just have a way of breaking down. They just won't behave on the day you need it. So you learn pretty quickly, back yourself up.
By the time the design, I think we made models of it and everything. The reason we knew it would all work, apart from having been told that by the flying guys that it would work, was that we did quite a number of shots with the radio control models of the thing. So we knew exactly what it was going to look like. These things were made, you know, and finished and flying, I think, before the actual one. And the other thing, of course, was that even before that, it had been drawn and sort of art department models had been made of it too. So we'd studied it. And everybody had studied it. Everybody who's had anything to do with it knew what was coming. It was deadly serious, you know, to get something like this done, you know, you're very much, Christ, you know, this has got to work.
It sort of came together in that regard, from the cold statistics of a working drawing to fleshing it out, you know. It's all based on reality, and you do as much reality as you can, but the bottom line is you've got to satisfy the requirements of the script.